Welcome to our next EnCaf Podcast, where we look at how extreme weather can impact vulnerable people and our plans to hold a session on this in June at Ruth Winston House. Extreme weather can harm the vulnerable more than anyone else in society. In 2003, thousands of people died in Paris because of excessive heat. Many of these were older people living alone, particularly women. A decade ago, the National Council for Voluntary Organizations, NCVO, developed a Vulnerable People and Climate Change project working with 51 non-environmental voluntary and community organizations, VCOs, to explore how climate change could affect their work and beneficiaries. The project targeted 4 cohorts of voluntary organizations supporting people in England who could be particularly vulnerable to the impacts of climate change. These were older people's organisations in London, disability and mental health organisations in London, Black and minority ethnic organisations in Greater Manchester, and organisations supporting people on low incomes in Hull and Portsmouth. NCVOs undertook this work in light of its role in championing and strengthening the voluntary sector in the UK. NCVO recognises that climate change has society-wide implications, and all voluntary and community organisations, whatever their mission, need to consider and prepare for the likely impacts this will have on their work and those they support. This case study provides an overview of NCVO's approach to working with voluntary and community sector organisations to enable them to become more knowledgeable about climate change impacts, better prepared to adapt to the changing climate, and more motivated to reduce their carbon emissions. It may be useful for public agencies charged with developing national and local responses to climate change, voluntary and community sector organisations, and voluntary sector support organisations. This is a challenge that Enfield Climate Action Forum, EnCaf, is taking up by holding a community hub with Ruth Winston House in Palmer's Green to discuss how heat excess in coming years will impact the vulnerable, especially older people. In developing this, we will be working with the Energy Savings Trust and the Enfield Healthcare Cooperative Limited, EHCL, a GP federation that includes 41 GP practices. We are also talking to other organisations to be involved so that we can look at what advice and help can be given to the vulnerable, but also what strategy the community can develop with the statutory organisations to address this problem in future years. The session at Ruth Winston House will be on June 25th, and we will let you know more as our plans for this event develop. Thanks for listening.